It's like every 45 seconds somebody turn, eh? Wow,
Somebody went through the kill.
that's pretty quick, eh?
It's a new record for us.
Is that right? We on now? Okay, perfect.
At Tabor Home Farm? Or no, Tabor Home Hardware. I wish I could say that about the liquor business.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regular scheduled Tabor Town Council meeting for April 27th, 2020. First off, we have a subdivision authority meeting to take care of, so I will call that meeting to order and ask for an adoption of the agenda, please. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Councillor Bruin?
In favor.
All right, thank you. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. On to agenda item number 3, the minutes of the April 14th, 2020 subdivision authority meeting. Mr. Armfeld.
Yes, you have those meeting minutes in front of you from April 14th. Please let us know if you'd like any amendments. If not, they're there for your adoption.
Thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that Subdivision Authority adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of Subdivision Authority held on April the 14th, 2020 as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Brown? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And agenda item 4 related to subdivision TT 20-0-004. Mr. Armfeld.
This is a subdivision that is being put forward by Dr. Ryan Torrey. You'll know that the land use bylaw was changed at the subject location a few weeks ago. In order to facilitate this development, he's moved along with his design plans, and you have this subdivision now in front of you. Ms. Monks, are you unmuted and online to provide the subdivision authority with a bit of information on this, please?
Yeah, I think I am anyway. Are you hearing me?
All right,
I can hear you.
Yeah. Ms. Monks.
Great. Excellent. Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of Council.
Good afternoon.
So at the February 3rd, 2020 regular meeting of Council, a public hearing was held on an application for an amendment to the land use bylaw to allow for neighborhood commercial uses in the residential medium density R4 district. Bylaw 3, 2020 was given third reading at that meeting. On March 4th, the applicant applied for subdivision, initially to create a Bearland condo plan with a private roadway and the creation of 2 Bearland lots. The application was advertised in the Tabor Times on March 25th and circulated to adjacent neighbors. The applicant then revised the plan to construct a private roadway to a higher standard and to provide individual servicing to fee simple lots, which was recirculated to the adjacents and also advertised in the Tabor Times on April 1st and April 8th. 2 calls for clarification were received with no current concerns identified. The application was then taken to the Municipal Planning Commission on April 20th and recommended for approval to the Subdivision Authority. If the Subdivision Authority approves the application, the appeal period will begin and the applicant will be in a position to apply for development permits for the proposed development of the site. Each of these applications would then be taken to the Municipal Planning Commission for any approvals, as the uses will be discretionary. Administration is supportive of this file. The design is created in such a manner as to provide buffering and separation between each of the development sites and any residential uses. The north portion will allow for an attractive development with potential seniors apartment housing, while the 3 lots adjacent to 50th Avenue will provide for attractive office and medical uses, which will benefit the residents in Westview and in Tabor as a whole. New amenities can be provided while meeting requirements set forth in the land use bylaw, and the development of the site that has sat vacant and caused concerns to the neighborhood with regard to weed control and dust every summer will be beneficially developed. Administration is recommending approval of this subdivision application.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? All right, thank you. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Garner.
I'm prepared to make a motion at this time, Mr. Mayor, that the Subdivision Authority approve subdivision application TT 20-0-004, Lot 1, Block 6, Plan 0815248, within the southwest quarter section of 6, Township Road 10, Range 16, west of the 4th Meridian, civically described as 5030 Westgate, West View Gate with the following conditions 1 through 12 inclusive.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just asked for a motion to close the meeting. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to close the meeting.
Motion on the table. All in favor?
Favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. And I will, on to the regular scheduled Tabortown Council meeting, call this meeting to order. And just for clarification purposes, besides the 5 members present in person today, we have Councillor Bruin on the phone with us, and Councillor Tams is unable to attend today's meeting. So with that, I would ask for a adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councillor Garner.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion on the table. All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item number 3.1, minutes of the regular meeting of Subdivision Authority. Sorry, that's the wrong one. Minutes of the regular meeting of Council, April 14th, 2020. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, again, you have those meeting minutes in front of you for your adoption at your pleasure.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Strauss.
Yes, Your Worship, I'll make a motion that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on April 14th, 2020 as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item number 4, no business arising. Item 5.1, second and third reading, road closure bylaw 3-2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, if I can have Ms. Monks get prepared on her microphone after a brief introduction. This matter has been in front of administration for a couple of years now. There's a alley that goes to the north, accessing towards the north on Summit Motors, a service road, and they would like to move that alleyway to the south. We've been working with Summit Motors for quite some time on this. Ms. Monks, can you provide a bit more detail?
Yes, certainly. Your Worship, Mr. Armfield is very correct. Administration has been processing an application from Martin G. Maddox on behalf of Summit Motors to facilitate a closure of a lane and construction of a new portion of road in order to redirect traffic near their business. So at the regular meeting of council on August 19th, 2019, first reading was given by Resolution 477/2019. At the September 9th, 2019 meeting, a public hearing was held. The application had been advertised in the Tabor Times and sent to adjacent landowners. One of the neighbors had expressed a concern regarding potential truck traffic shortcutting through the laneway. So the applicant has since confirmed that the yard would be fenced and commercial traffic will stay on the property and utilize the service road connecting to the Highway 3. Following the public hearing, the application was then forwarded to the Minister for approval and has been returned with executed signatures allowing the file to move forward to second and third reading. The applicant has also applied for subdivision in order to consolidate this closed portion of road and construct and dedicate the new laneway as part of the application. That application is currently in circulation, and once this bylaw is approved, the subdivision application can then proceed to MTC before coming back again to the subdivision authority for approval. Upon approval of that process, then the road closure will be registered as part of the full consolidation and subdivision application. Administration recommends approval of this application as it will allow the applicant to move forward with the subdivision and to create a separation between this commercial development and residential property traffic.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Strauss.
Yes, Your Worship, council gives second reading to road closure bylaw 3-2019.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the second motion requirement. Third reading, but second motion. Councillor Becker, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council give third reading to road closure bylaw 3-2019.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item number 6.1, intermunicipal collaboration framework agreement. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, council will know that we've been working with the Municipal District of Tabor for some time now on this intermunicipal collaborative framework. It stemmed out of changes to the Municipal Government Act, which were put into place, encouraging municipalities to work together and determine ways in which they could deliver services together more efficiently. The document has been drafted and conversations between the two parties have been had. The members of the Intermunicipal Development Committee could speak to that fact. You have the document in front of you, ready for approval and administratively supported, with a list of initiatives to start working on after adoption.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Mr. Armfeldt. Has this been adopted by the MD of Tabor Council yet?
It is on their agenda for tomorrow, from my understanding. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Garner.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion at this time that council adopts the intermunicipal collaboration framework agreement as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.2, 2019 audited financial statements. Mr. Armfeldt.
Yes, this marks a big day in our Director of Finance's world, Mr. Orwa, when he gets to have his 2009 audited financial statements hopefully passed by council. Mr. Orwa, there might be some back and forth here. If you go on off of mute and start speaking to it, I'll do my best to guide council through the pages here as you desire. Please go ahead, Mr. Orwa.
Thank you very much, members of council. So before you are the two documents I've attached. One is the consolidated financial statement, which has already been audited in accordance with the Canadian generally accepted auditing standards. And then the second document is FIR, which is Financial Information Return. Of course, that one is supposed to be sent to the Municipal Affairs. So it's just a summary of financial statements in the format they would like. So in April 16, the audit committee met with our external auditors to discuss these financial results, and they recommended that we present it to council for approval. But before I turn it over to council, there are a few areas here that I would like to highlight. And the first one would be on the financial statements. Mr. Alfred, if you could click on the financial statements, then you go to the balance sheet, the financial position, consolidated statement of financial position.
Yeah, that's the initial one, the consolidated statement of financial position. I'm there, Mr. Orwa.
Yes, thank you very much. So what I would like to highlight there is, if you look at our balance sheet, the key there that I would like to highlight is the net financial assets. Now, this is a clear indication that the town of Tabor is sitting on almost 5 million, in an indication that at the end of 2019, the town of Tabor was able to pay all the liabilities out of the cash that they had, plus any other income coming through with all the receivables and other financial assets. And that is very, very important because from what I gathered, majority of some municipalities out there had net financial debt, meaning that they could not even pay all their liabilities from financial assets. So that's good news. Moving out of the balance sheet, the other area that I would like to highlight is on page 7, down to, I think it's scroll down to page 7 on the same thing on the financial statement. So where you have, just go down to page 7.
I'm there, Mr. Orwa.
Now page 7 now talks about consolidated schedule of changes in accumulated surplus. So what is important there is the second column under reserves. So at the end of 2019, the town of Tabor, we are sitting at 14 million on our reserves, which I think is also good news there. Now, overall, before I turn it over to council, overall, at the end of 2019, I think the town is still sitting on good financial position, and I think they're able to meet most of the obligations. before I turn it over to council, maybe if there is if a member of committee, audit committee could do. I want to add anything before I turn it over to council.
Any questions arising? Councillor Becker?
Thank you, Mr. Armfeld, through to Mr. Orwa. Regarding the reserves of 14 million some dollars, how much of that is unrestricted, please?
The unrestricted is 550,000.
$550,000.
Yes.
Unrestricted?
So if you look at the same, if you look at page 7 and look at the first column is the unrestricted net asset. So if you come all the way to the bottom after the movements in and out during the year, we are sitting with 550,000 as unrestricted.
Yes. Am I missing that? I don't see that figure.
Yeah, what is the exact value, Mr. Orwa?
500.
The same page 7 where you are, Mr. Armfeld, if you look at the first column, it says unrestricted net assets. So if you go to the under there, you see the beginning balance was 2.7 million. Then annual surplus, that is what you would say was saved during the year from our budget, what was carried forward. So we had a 1.2 million. Then there is in and out movements during the year. At the bottom there, you'll see 550. That means at the end of the year, the unrestricted asset is sitting at $500,000.
Okay, great, thank you. All right, any other questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? One of two. Anyone? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council approves the consolidated financial statements and the financial information return for the year ended December 31st, 2019.
Great, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Becker?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask a question, please. I don't know to who, but the 550,000 unrestricted reserve, isn't that an awfully low amount? Or is that just, am I not reading this correctly, Mr. Armfeld, I guess?
I think I'll let Mr. Orwa take a shot at answering that one. Mr. Orwa?
Yes, so in the past, I know you've been seeing 1.2 million, 2 million all over the place, but I think for 2019, if you recall, now, if you look at the beginning of the year, you can see we had 2.7. Now that 2.7 plus whatever was carried forward from 2017, it was past that we moved 3.5 million, which was moved at the beginning of the year. That is what has lowered that unrestricted portion. But that is exactly the money that is not restricted that the council can use at any time. Although part of it is already, some money has already been moved into the reserves, council also has that power to reroute that money back to unrestricted districts.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
Carried now, thank you. And the second required motion, Councillor Strauss.
Your Worship, I'll make that second motion. But I just, being on the audit committee, I just want to convey a statement made by our auditors. And they told us that we're in a very healthy financial situation for a community our size. We're in a net financial situation. We're sitting better than most. We have lots of space to borrow should we need to borrow. And he's quite impressed with the job that our administration does in running this town and looking after its finances. So that's from Mr. Derek Taylor, and he was quite impressed. So now that I've said that, I'll make the motion that that council makes, or administration council of Town of Taber makes the approved consolidated financial statements for the year ended December 31st, 2019 in booklet format to any ratepayer free of charge.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor?
Carried unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Roy, and all the Finance Department for all your many efforts. Job well done. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
And on to item 6.3, auditorium chair options. Mr. Arnfelt.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is one of the general bits of business that we have been looking into in the background, and we thought we would bring that forward to council. There's nobody that can sit in the auditorium now, but hopefully that changes within the next few months. So we have in front of you and in front of council some considerations for more comfortable and more attachable / detachable chairs. Dawn, are you on the phone?
Yes, I am.
Would you like to add anything?
I think you kind of covered it all. We have 8 options there, just looking for some direction.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments? Councillor Garner?
I have a question through to Dawn. How many chairs do we currently stock in our auditorium?
We have 700.
Okay.
It's rare that we need them all. I think Remembrance Day is the main time that needs to be out.
Okay. Thank you.
I'd say most around the 200 to 300 mark.
Okay.
Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through to Ms. Phillips. Is there a particular chair design that you would recommend or prefer over the others?
It's a difficult one. It depends on the direction. So there is conversation around having more comfortable chairs. So there's a U-line fabric chair that 3733 I've seen in a few locations. I feel like it would hold up fairly well. It's fairly pricey though, at $61 a chair. If we're going with more basic plastic one, the U-line plastic stacking chair H5678BL, they're relatively comfortable and they have clipping capacity built in. So I guess those are the 2 top that I would recommend. Neither are folding though.
Sorry, neither are what? Folding.
Sorry, they don't fold, yeah. I mean, there is a smaller folding chair at the top there, H3016, if we wanted to stick with the folding for the option of storage. I don't think our cart would hold those ones, though. We'd need new carts regardless of which chair is chosen.
Right. Just a question, Councillor Travis?
Yes, to Don. You've got on here $1,500 for chair clips for the existing chairs. So this is a clip that you would take on and off. It's not like the tie clips, I gather. Could you just maybe just enlighten us a little bit about them, how they work?
They're just plastic clips with like a rounded sides on each of them, and then they clip onto the 2 chairs to hold them together. With the current chairs, it would make it a little more, it doesn't give you quite the space as the zip ties do, is the challenge, but it is an option.
It certainly
One
is.
of our biggest challenges with these chairs is they're only, I want to say 15 3/4 inches wide, or 15 1/2, which is why we end up so squished.
Yes, Don, thank you. I believe the $1,500 for the chair clips for the existing chairs is really a good cost-fixed alternative. I think new chairs at this point is more of a want than a need for this community. So, I would support item number 2 to get a different type of clip rather than replace the chairs.
Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I would question, I would agree with Councillor Strovis, but does that eliminate the narrowness of the chairs being together like that, or are they still the same width apart with the clips?
Sorry, if I could ask Jeremy to unmute his phone. Jeremy, when you put the chairs together, did it provide extra space?
Yeah, so when the clips are attached to the chairs, the spacing between each chair is approximately 18.5 inches between them. The way that we were doing it before, when we were attaching zip ties, was approximately 19 or 19.25 inches. So with this way, I mean, the clips are nice because they're reusable. I don't have to cut the clips off at the end. And we still get, 18.5 inches between each chair.
I think that provides some good space.
So if I'm understanding that correctly, is that actually less width between chairs? Like it's 18.5 compared to 19 plus we had previous?
So the chairs were 15.5 inches wide and initially tight against each other. So that's when we were getting the complaints. So we started using 11-inch zip ties, which then gave us 19.5 inches. So by compromising and going with chair clips, which are reusable and easier to attach, well, probably not easier, it's easier to remove, they lose about an inch of space. I believe that's the guideline of 18.5. I think that would be. I think we'd get far less complaints with them.
So we did gain then. We gained a few inches then? 3 inches roughly?
Yes. Yeah, about 3 inches of using the foot.
All right. And just to clarify, the two you're suggesting, Ms. Phillips, were which ones again? Both folding varieties, did you say?
The two I recommended was
Pardon me?
folding off. It's just, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
Sorry. I actually gave 3 different chairs. One folds, the other 2 stack. One has fabric cover that was mentioned at the last meeting. So it just depends on, like storage-wise, the folding one probably would be the best, which is H3016. Stacking, I'd say H3733, and that one's fabric.
All right. I'm just looking at 2 folding chairs here, the top 2 left. H3139 and H2522. Those are both padded chairs, right? Both the back and or the seat. $33 and $29. Did that come up before that may be problematic for cleaning purposes? It may not be desirable.
Sorry. It is something to consider. If people are eating and drinking, fabric chairs will get a little more worn more quickly and faded. But they're still going to last quite a good time. So it just depends on, again, the direction that council would like to go.
I'm just thinking that if we go that route at all, it's like they're $33 and $29 respectively. Mm-hmm. So they're quite a lot cheaper than some here, but I guess the main concern really was I don't think so much the comfort of the other ones, although they're a bit low, but certainly when they're in big numbers like that, the complaints we had were generated about being too tight width-wise for some preferred elbow room, if you will. So any other questions, Councillor Garner?
I think if I refer back to the discussion we had before, one of the points made by Councillor Stroas is that his experience in the food industry was that we should maybe steer away from a cloth chair because of the spillage and cleaning of it. Also, I guess a question that I might ask is those chairs that we do currently have, how much did they cost per unit? Does anyone know about that? My feeling is we went with the cheapest route possibly. I don't know the cost, but I'm afraid we're going to fall into the same trap again by taking the easiest route instead of fixing the problem once and for all. I think one of the problems that I see and have experienced sitting in those chairs at various things is the width of the chair is pretty small compared to some that we have in front of me in our package. And of course, I'm a portly gent, let's put it that way, but I don't think I'm unlike a lot of other people in this community where we try to fit people onto a 15.5-inch chair width where some of these are 17 and 18 inches wide. I think we're talking about comfort here too. You know, I look at some of the events that we host, like the Pheasant Festival, Tango, numerous events that are quite nice. And I think this is an investment in the community, not just something we should take the cheapest way out, is my suggestion.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Garner.
I guess, is there anyone out there in Cyberland that can answer that question as to what did we pay per unit for those chairs that we currently have?
I think if I recall roughly, Mr. Arville, it's 5 years plus since we bought those, somewhere in there?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, that's over 5 years, so
Right.
we would have to go back and do a little research.
Yeah,
And that's
in
fine.
all
I
fairness to administration, that's right. They
Yeah,
don't
no, that's
necessarily
fine. I just
ask for
thought
that before, but
somebody.
it's you're right. They're obviously a cheaper variety, and they're certainly not an
Yeah.
average chair to sit down on and get up out of.
Yeah,
they're low to the ground. But it's the big one, like I said, was it's just too tight. So I mean, obviously we got to go with something wider, whatever we do, if we're going to do this.
As Mr. Mayor, as I looked all of those options over, I looked at H-5678, B as in Bob, L as in Larry. And I guess what impressed me about that is it's not folding. It's a wider chair. And the description of it maybe fits our community style somewhat, where it says tough enough for the rowdiest break room or cafeteria. I know it's costly, but I think we're investing into the future with it.
Thank you, Councillor Firth.
Mr. Mayor, through to administration. Would you say that the chairs that we have now have reached the end of their life cycle?
Mr. Mayor, sorry, go ahead, Phyllis.
Don?
Oh, sorry, Miss Phillips, yes. You guys need a name change.
To go back to my maiden name, it's being less confusing. No, the chairs are actually still in great condition. There would be an option to.
Did you catch that? Sorry, I didn't hear that at all, Miss Phillips.
Miss
Sorry,
Phillips,
can you hear me?
Miss Phillips, just in one or two words, what is your assessment of the condition of the chairs?
Good condition.
I would concur. Good condition.
Good condition. Okay. Councillor Chavez?
Your Worship, the previous chairs that were there were they weren't a folding chair. They were a stacking chair. They were a hard vinyl. And when an individual was in there catering, they had all fit together. They laid down. They were very cumbersome. There was a lot more of those carts that had to get pushed in and out from underneath that stage. They're very difficult to deal with. Your best option is a folding chair, and the other chairs were in position from the late before 1990 till they were replaced 5-6 years ago. So I don't think that we should be replacing chairs every 5 years. I think we have to learn to live with what we have in these economic times. The chairs are for as often as that they're used, they're very functional. I cannot support this. This is just wrong to do this.
All right, thank you. Councillor Becker?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I echo what Councillor Strovo just said. And I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Mayor.
All right, just had a question, Councillor Becker, if I may, about the alternative, about if we're not going to go forward, as seems to be the general consensus possibly, can we add some width there with another form of a clip variety? Is that an option by chance? Ms. Phillips?
Yes, the chair clips that are we've priced in at $1,500 would give us 18.5 inches, so 3 more inches of space than having them secured tight together.
3 more inches aside?
Total.
Total. Oh. Okay,
So you gain 1.5 inches on each side.
that's about it. Yeah. All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I'm prepared to move that we purchase $1,500 for chair clips for the existing chairs.
Right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. Thanks for us, Ms. Phillips, for all your research and efforts attached to this particular RFD. All right, on to item 6.4, information for council. Mr. Armfelt.
Yeah, there's 2 items here. One, the National Communities in Bloom event has been canceled for 2020, so that money will be coming back to the municipality from the Communities in Bloom group, and the traffic committee meeting minutes are attached.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Garner.
I make the motion that council accepts the material received in this agenda item as information.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Or Councillor Brown, I didn't hear from you, sorry.
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, on to department reports. Mr. Armfelt.
Yes, you have the suite of administrative department reports in front of you. Please let us know if you have any questions.
All right, thank you. I'll go through those individually. If you have a question, just stop me accordingly, please. Water and wastewater treatment facilities. Engineering and Public Works. Administrative Service Reports. Human Resources Report. Fire Department Report. Finance Department Activity Report. Planning and Economic Development Report. Recreation Activity Reports. And CAO Activity Report. All right, seeing no questions arising, someone prepared to make that motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council accepts the department reports for information.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
In favor.
All right. Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to Mayor and Councillor reports. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing to report. Very quiet, actually.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Firth.
Mr. Mayor, I attended electronically the Tabor Library Board's special meeting and board meeting where we welcomed the new head librarian, library manager. His name is Sean Bethke, and also the EOC meetings for the town.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Brown.
Nothing really new to report. It's been sadly quiet everywhere, but everything looks good in town. So, good job, everyone.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Garner.
I think nothing new to report at this time.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Strauss.
Yes, I just going to report on the Alberta Japan Twinning Municipalities Association. I'll just read a short statement from them. Due to the current situation with the COVID-19, the Rocky Kamakawa Friendship Society has decided to postpone the AGM and conference that was scheduled to take place on June 12th and 13th. With our Japanese delegations unable to travel to Canada, the closing of the schools, as well as the limit on the size of gatherings and social distancing requirements, we felt this was necessary. We'll wait and see what the government decides in the coming weeks and hope that we may be able to host a provincial event in the fall. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And for myself, I've been on a variety of teleconference calls this last month as well as some ministerial AHS calls, as well as MLA-related calls to our current COVID-19 situation. And that would be my report. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council accepts the mayor and council reports for information.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Favor.
Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to delegations. Are we in a position to call our first delegation?
Item 6.7 first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Geez, I checked it, but we're not there yet. You're right. All right. Yes. Standing item council requests. Mr. Armfelt.
This is the opportunity that council has to ask administration any questions or give us any direction through the form of a motion.
All right, thank you. Anything arising? Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's been some discussion about garage sales and whether that would be something that would be permitted right now during this new COVID-19 reality. While there hasn't been an official position from Alberta Health Services or the province, I think as a municipality, based on the recommendations about gatherings and social distancing, that the town should probably discourage residents from holding garage sales, at least in the current environment. Inviting people to your home to handle a bunch of your items that you want to sell doesn't seem like a great idea to me. And there are certainly other avenues. If people are interested in selling things, they can do things online and facilitate things that way with a reduced amount of contact. So I just wanted to bring that up and see what the feeling of the rest of council is.
All right, thank you. Any comments, questions? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To the Council Firth, Alberta Health Services, of course, has not commented directly on the garage sales issue. For the town of Taber to perhaps we could discourage people not to have a garage sale, but we certainly cannot forbid it because we don't have a bylaw in place. We need a bylaw before we would be able to even come close to enforcing it, you know. So at this point in time, I don't think we should become involved as a council, although I would certainly agree with Councillor Firth that we should discourage garage sales. But.
All right, thank you. Mr. Arnold, was there not, I believe there's some comments and not a clarification earlier in our EOC meeting, but AHS and/or Alberta Emergency Management didn't have a complete stance on this, or has something changed just in the last several hours?
Yeah, I've got an email from Alberta Emergency Management that was circulated through Alberta Health Services, in support of no garage sales in municipalities. And many municipalities have taken that step of actually changing bylaws to do that. We are acting essentially on the direction from Alberta Emergency Management to have this discussion, and thank you for Councillor Firth for bringing this up to have this discussion. We didn't want to go forward with any sort of media campaign discouraging garage sales without having it discussed at the council table previous, but we do have that ready. So if council was to pass a motion directing administration to move forward with social media discouraging garage sales at this time, I believe it would be consistent with the wishes of Alberta Health Services and Alberta Emergency Management Agency.
Okay, so just to clarify, they weren't clear on that this morning, but they have since come through with information.
I've since got an email. Yes, I've since got an email from Alberta Emergency Management Agency. Yep.
Oh, great, thank you. Any other questions arising? Councillor Strauss?
Your Worship, maybe this is something that we should have addressed a month or so ago, but with provinces, different communities moving forward and less restrictions, perhaps it's a little late to start changing the bylaw at this point. I think we could go forth, and I think probably within the next short while we'll see some restrictions lifted and a little more activity happening.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? I guess just for my own clarification, I understand that they're formally recommending that we put out some kind of message that there should not be garage sales.
That's correct.
All right.
Yep.
Certainly make a motion.
All right, sir. Councillor Garner, you had a question? Councillor Chavez?
Your Worship, perhaps maybe a little blurb in our Cornhusker Chronicles telling people that it's not advisable to have one would suffice rather than making a motion and going on. I don't know, maybe there isn't time to put it in there now, but that might be a lot less constraining.
I think, in all fairness, what administration is asking for is some kind of direction as far as how to deal with this, and that's, we've just heard what the HS AEM recommendations are now, and we've pretty much been following everything else that way, so I don't know that we could change our path. Councillor Garner?
Just wondering if Mr. Armstrong has that communication so that we could review that. I think maybe he's looking for it now. So it might shed a little more light on the direction we should take.
Some of it is fairly colloquial, so I will clean up the clean parts for council. Garage sales. I have received several inquiries regarding garage sales and whether or not they should be allowed. The current CMOH, so that's health orders, do not specify garage sales specifically. However, both AHS and AEMA have recommended to suspend them for the following reasons. Difficult to maintain social distancing, potential of more than 15 individuals mass gathering, commonly touched surfaces, impossible to sanitize the items being touched and not purchased, washing and bathroom facilities not available, unnecessary contact with person unknown to the owners of the home, overall bad idea to have strangers touching your material you're selling, potentially spreading this virus. And that's come from Gary DeZoba, who's our Alberta Emergency Management Agency contact.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth?
Mr. Mayor, the motion I would make would not be to change the bylaw, but I move that council direct administration to provide messaging to the town of Taber residents that to discourage the holding of garage sales under the current COVID-19 environment.
Great, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Bruin?
In favor.
All right, thank you. Carried unanimously. Thank you. All right, we are now on the delegations related to 7.1, backyard hens.
Delegations coming?
1 and 1. One's on the phone, or going to be, and the other one is going to attend.
Which one's going to attend? Pardon me, Mr. Mayor.
7.2, Taber Food Bank. Attending, yes. So do we have this individual waiting to call in, or can we call this individual?
I would have to defer to Miss Van Ham. What arrangements have been made with Miss Kenyon?
The delegations start at 5 according to council's bylaw. So
That's correct. Yeah, sorry. Getting ahead of ourselves here. That's right.
5, and we'll be prepared to discuss at that time. Thank you.
All right, thank you. With that, I would ask for a motion to break until 5 p.m. Councillor Garner?
I would make a motion that we break until 4:55, sorry, and then resume back to hear our delegations.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Bruin?
In favor.
Carried unanimously.
Have some supper.
Great, thank you. All right, we will reconvene at 4:55 p.m. Thank you. Motion to reconvene the meeting, please. Councilor Becker?
Mr. Mayor, I move that council reconvenes at this time, 4:55 p.m.
Great, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Councilor Bruin? Well, we don't have him now.
I'll text him and see if he's
Okay,
coming back on here.
so we'll just call that carried then.
Yeah.
We haven't muted anybody, Ella?
No.
Councillor Bruin? Miss Kenyon, are you there? Danielle Kenyon?
Yes, I am.
Okay. It's Corey, the CAO. We'll just get you up in here in just a second. We just have a counselor trying to dial back in.
Not a problem. Thank you so much.
Councillor Bruin is trying.
Session.
It still should be open.
Yeah, but I'm wondering if he's down.
Councillor Bruin, hello.
Hello, it's I'm connected according to it, but you guys can't hear me?
No, we cannot hear you.
Okay, I'll try it one more time. This is for the closed session meeting, the different number, right?
No, we're still in open. So this
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh.
If it matters, I can hear him.
so can
Thank
everybody
you.
else.
We were hoping otherwise, but
Our apologies for that.
It does matter.
Don't worry.
I can also hear him.
So people on the phone could hear him, but no, that's just because I just had him here. Like he was trying to dial in the closed session number, so that there wouldn't have been. Like, were you hearing him for a long time?
That was the first I heard him. Sorry.
Me as well.
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
my computer.
Okay. Yeah.
You look like you're in deep thought. What are you thinking about?
no, just waiting patiently. Councilor Bruin, you're back online here.
Does anyone else hear the musical chime?
Yeah, enjoying the music.
I'm sorry, that's the baby swing.
Okay.
Better than what we've heard.
You guys hear me?
Oh,
Councilor Bruin.
Councillor Bruin.
Yes. There we go.
All right,
Sorry
you're
about
back
that.
with us.
Okay, Councillor Bruin.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, we have opened up the meeting once again, so I will turn this over to Ms. Kenyon, please, with your presentation.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Mr. Mayor and councillors, I would like to thank you for taking the time to hear my presentation. My name is Danielle Jorgensen Kenyon, and I have lived in Taber for 4 wonderful years after making the decision to raise my family here with my husband, who has lived here since his school years, and our 4 children. The idea of urban homesteading and self-sufficiency has always been of interest to me, and I have built up many skills over the years, including gardening, canning, preserving, handicrafts, and making as much as I can from scratch. I reached out to the town of Taber to inquire if I was allowed to have backyard hens 2 years ago on May 4th of 2018, and I was told that it was prohibited under the current town bylaws. I made a decision at that time to research and learn as much as I could in hopes to one day stand in front of you and ask for change. I created the Backyard Hens Taber Facebook page and have since garnered 52 follows and 9 families who have reached out with direct interest, which you may notice up 4 and 1 respectively from the numbers I quoted when I submitted my form last week. Unfortunately, given the current global situation, I'm not standing in front of you, but I've done my due diligence and invested my time and money, and now I'm here to ask for a change. So why backyard hens? There's many reasons, but some highlights are they are sustainable, healthy, and local. In the Alberta communities I interviewed, of which there was copies of my interviews with my submission, namely Okotoks, High River, why am I drawing a blank here? Okotoks, High River, and St. Albert, sorry. The success of their urban hen programs have been overwhelmingly positive with very few complaints and no fines given. I will add I also interviewed Edmonton, but being a bigger community, she wanted to consult her FOIP department, and by the time she got back to me and I got back to her, it just wasn't able to make it into my presentation, but that was also really good there. And they had a successful pilot project, and then they had a cap of 50 households, and then they lifted the cap because everything was going so well. Anyways, sorry. There's an appetite for being able to be more reliant, especially in these unpredictable times, and it is a small change that could make big positive effects. So one quote from my interview with the planner of infrastructure and development services in St. Albert, one of her quotes was, "Owners are sharing their eggs with neighbors, and it brings people together in a sense." She had commented that there was a neighborhood block party, and even the mayor went for a tour of one of the neighborhood coops. So that's pretty neat. So right in our own backyards, the picture on that slide is actually of a backyard coop in Okotoks, belonging to the woman who lobbied Okotoks Town Council to allow backyard hens. And I don't know if there's any Star Wars fans, but she even has Hen Solo living in that coop. But backyard hens are a local, healthy, affordable source of eggs. Layer ration for 6 hens costs approximately $16 a month. But in addition to that, there's so many more benefits. Chickens are just great for the backyard. They eat bugs and weeds. They can cut down on pesticide and herbicide use. Their manure makes excellent compost, reducing the need for fertilizer. They aerate the soil. There's just so many benefits to having them in our backyards here that goes above and beyond eggs. Now you'll see on the food security slide, that's a picture I took myself of Taber Walmart's egg shelf. So I was grocery shopping and needed some eggs on Sunday, March 29th, and even though they had been limiting customers to 2 cartons per person, there was still not a single carton on that shelf. So I think we can all appreciate food security is a concern as of late, and empty shelves have come to be expected even with limitations in place. So now more than ever, this pandemic has shown us that anything's possible, and unimaginable, unprecedented situations can and do happen. We don't know how long this crisis, or how long this is going to go on, or what crisis could come next, but food security is one aspect that we could control right in our own backyards. So in my interview with Angela Clay, she's the Municipal Enforcement Administrator for Okotoks, I had asked her if there was any unforeseen issues that she would warn a community just starting out about. And her response was that the biggest hurdle initially was people opposing the idea before they understood the logistics and rules required to keep urban hens, myself included. So she basically lent to the fact that she didn't understand what would be required, and that she is essentially converted. So it relates to a lot of the concerns against hens, and there was a lot of opposition for things that it's just what pops into your head when you think of a chicken operation. You think of the smells, you think of the sounds, the pests, but none of those things are a small backyard coop. These are regulated. They need to stay clean. The people who are going to go for something like this are people who are wanting to provide for their families, and these small group of hens are going to become part of the family, pets even. So it's not a farm operation. It's not millions of flies and smells. There is regulations. Some basic ones are there's no roosters allowed generally. The number of hens is limited to 3 to 8, minimum being 3 because they are social and they don't do well in numbers less than that. But how far a coop needs to be from the neighbors, what fines would be if rules are broken, certification and proper training. And there's so many bylaws and sample pilot projects out there that other communities have done that it's not, we're not reinventing the wheel. We can look elsewhere to see how this has been successful. So to touch a little more on the opposition, a lot of opposition is around smell, but a well-maintained small coop is nearly undetectable until you are standing inside of it, and I have been to a few. Noise, there is no roosters allowed, and they're not required for egg production, which a lot of people don't know. So that drastically lessens the noise, and a hen squawk comes in at 60 decibels, which is comparable to a human conversation and much quieter than common neighborhood sounds like leaf blowers, barking dogs, lawnmowers. And generally the hens only squawk to announce they laid an egg, and they get quite excited about it. It's called their egg song, and they're proud, and they squawk and say, "Hey world, look what I just did." And then generally they're pretty quiet, and it's just little clucks and chatter throughout the rest of the day. And when it's dark, they go in and roost, and they're quiet all night. As with pests, as long as feed's properly stored, which is what you need to be doing to maintain your coop properly, hens actually reduce the amount of pests in the yard. They don't add to them. They eat ticks. They'll even attack mice. They eat weeds. They'll eat almost anything. And then diseases, most disease issues are mitigated by the fact that it's a small number of hens, and they're enclosed in a way that they're not in contact with wild birds. They're not overcrowded. They're not in situations with bad hygiene. And the Chickens 101 course that I will touch on next covers these diseases that are common to Alberta specifically, and what to do in those cases. So just another little blurb from my interview with Angela in Okotoks. I had asked, overall, do you feel the program has had a positive or negative effect on your community? And she had responded positive. It has allowed those citizens who wish to have urban hens the opportunity to do so with little to no impact on the rest of the community. And that really just highlights that there is a balance, and it's possible for us to find that balance. River City Chickens is based out of Edmonton. Dr. Margaret Fisher, she's a veterinarian and one of the founders of River City Chickens. And they have been vital in getting chickens allowed in Edmonton. They have also consulted with other municipalities in Alberta, and they actually, Stantec had attempted to help one of the municipalities write their backyard chickens law, and Dr. Margaret Fisher ended up consulting with them and fixing and changing things because she's familiar with our climate. She's familiar with what problems may be presented. Anyways, that's. But they provided Chickens 101 class, and this class is actually required before you can get a license in Edmonton, Leduc, or St. Albert. And it covers so many important things, but really, really important is winter care in Alberta, right? You can find backyard hen courses. They're a dime a dozen. You just do a Google search, but this one is specific to Alberta, and it tells us how to keep them safe in Alberta in winter, what breeds do best in Alberta in winter, and it touches on specific diseases to our area. But a really big one that I think a lot of people don't think about is end-of-life options, and it also touches on that. So I really do think that that's an important step before anyone were to attempt to obtain hens. It was an amazing course. I'm very happy to have taken it, and River City Chickens have agreed to be the official training source for Taber residents should we want them to, and they would also gladly consult with council on hens as they have done in other municipalities. So how council can help, there's families in Taber wanting hens for a variety of reasons, from food security to education for their children, to control over where their food comes from. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, and I am asking for 3 options. The first is being that we amend the town bylaws and to allow residents to keep 6 hens and create a bylaw outlining the associated rules and fines. And now the reason I said 6 hens, just so you know, is chickens only lay consistently for 2 to 3 years, but they can live up to 10. So by allowing the 6 limit, you would be able to get, say, 3 hens. And when they stop laying, you can add to your flock and still have a few more while seeing your older ladies through to the rest of their days. So that's the first and most ideal request. Secondly would be that we conduct a 2-year pilot project with a number of households to assess what backyard hens looks like in Taber. Or lastly, just allow individuals such as myself who have done the research, invested the time and money, and completed appropriate training to apply on a case-by-case basis for the permission of council to keep 6 hens. So that is my presentation. I want to thank you in advance for your time and consideration and ask if there are any questions.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions arising? Councillor Bruin, did you have a question? Councillor Bruin, are you still on the line with us?
Sorry, mute button.
Did you have a question?
Yes, I do. I'm more concerned than question. I'm concerned about if you allow up 6 chickens per yard, if you get a town block, everyone has 6 chickens, you got a lot of chickens. I don't know for sure if this is really a viable thing in the town. Skunks and whatnot, weasels. I think it attracts more pests than it does good, so sorry, I cannot support this.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not so much a question, but more of a comment that I appreciate when residents take the initiative and do the research and present the information in such a comprehensive manner. I think this is a really good presentation. It certainly opened my eyes. And the thing that I found the most reassuring was the training course. I thought that was a very practical addition so that people know what they're getting themselves into should we decide to go forward with this.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? I just had one, Ms. Kenyon, just by chance. I assume you've got neighbors either side of you there, wherever you're residing?
I do, yes.
Have you had some discussions with your neighbors on this possibility at all?
So I have with my permanent neighbor, and she, I have in writing, is fine with it. At the time of submission, we didn't actually have neighbors on the other side as it's a rental, and in the 3 years I've been here, we've had 4 different neighbors. So I haven't had a chance with social distancing and everything. They just moved in here this month, and I haven't had a chance to go over and talk to them about it. But I do have permission from my permanent neighbor in writing that she would be more than fine with it. Also, if I may just add with the 6 hens and if everybody wanted hens, in my interviews with the other municipalities, I did ask how many households are participating, and it is a very low number. I've been running this Facebook page in Taber for 18 months and advertising it as much as I can, and only 10 households have stepped forward expressing interest. And that is something we could put a cap on, that only, say, 20 licenses are allowed and you go on a wait list. Or there's definitely ways around making sure that we don't have a block that turns into a barnyard.
All right, thank you. Councillor Strauss?
Yes, I have a question, and I just want a general answer. What avenue and block do you live in? I don't want your street. I don't want your house number. I just curious what part of town you live in.
50th Street and 60th Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Great, thank you so much, Ms. Kenyon, for your presentation. We will have some further discussion and deliberate accordingly. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, somebody else want to start?
Next delegation coming first?
We do, but generally speaking, we go through the current delegation format unless there's an ask for delay in this.
You're looking for an answer on this right now?
Unless, I guess, unless you're looking to direct administration to do something research-wise without a motion necessarily?
Worship, this intrigues me, but I would like to go to Okotoks or another community and have a look at a few of these before I make a decision, either yay or nay. It kind of intrigues me, and I think I'd like to take a look at these, from a personal point of view, just to see what it is. So maybe there's a couple of us could drive up there and just have a look, scout around, and take some pictures, and report back to council. I'm sure that lady, Mrs. Clay, Angela Clay, would take us around and show us some of these here if a couple of us wanted to go up. Just to enlighten ourselves before we make a decision one way or another.
All right. Any other comments related to Councillor Strauss' suggestion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too am intrigued by this. I think it's innovative, although not so innovative that we'd be the first ones doing it, which is key in my opinion. But I think that perhaps we could direct administration to develop a 2-year pilot project to at least see what this would look like for the town of Taber, as well as do our own research by visiting other municipalities that allow backyard hens.
I think just in all fairness to our administration, Mr. Armfeldt, I take it you need a little bit of time to do some research administratively if we're going to go look at that possibility Councillor Firth was just suggesting.
Yeah, we could undertake a couple of things. We could do a research document to present to council with regards to legislation and impacts in other municipalities. And at the same time, organize a trip for those that wanted to go up to Okotoks to see what their hens look like.
All right, so feasibly we could possibly have this come back within the month type of a thing. Next couple of meetings likely.
Yeah, I'd like to give administration till the end of May.
Sure.
To work on this. Like, I think the format is fairly straightforward.
Right.
It's just with everything going on, we're all pretty much loaded up here with COVID and the rest of it. So
yeah, exactly.
At the end of May would be preferable if council could be so patient.
I think that's reasonable, all things considered. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with Mr. Armfeldt. I think I'm not questioning the veracity of Ms. Kenyon's presentation. I think it was very, very excellent. But it would behoove us, I think, to have administration research from an independent side and come back with a recommendation of some sort. But I'm sorry I can't get excited about it.
All right, fair enough. No, I commend Ms. Kenyon for the in-depth research and the presentation today. So yes, I would concur if all are on board with that to send that back to administration. And you don't need a motion on that per se. That's the general on board.
Yeah, we would like a motion just to make sure that we've got something to track with our motions, because we do keep track of them, and then that's what we base our actions off of. So if council wouldn't mind passing a quick motion on that, giving us direction.
All right. Someone prepared to make a motion in that regard. Councillor Firth.
Sure. I'll take a run at that. I move that council would request additional information from administration in the form of a research document outlining what a backyard hen project for the town of Taber would look like. Is that
Great, very good. Thank you. Okay. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Bruin? Pardon me, Councillor Bruin?
In favor.
All right, thank you. Carried unanimously. All right, on to item 7.2, Delegation Taber Food Bank. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, I believe Mr. Kevin Leahy is in the hallway, just not too far away.
All right.
In the Taber Food Bank, and is here to give a presentation.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Hi, Mr. Leahy. You can actually come right up to the front. I believe you're wired in right at the front there.
Mr. Leahy, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you. How's everyone tonight?
Good, thank you.
I do have a package here. If councilors want to look at it, I'll hand it to you.
Sure.
We didn't have it ready when Phyllis had emailed previously because we wanted April statistics in it. Yeah, sure, I can lean in closer too. I don't need this laptop, so. You. Thank you and good evening, Mayor and Councillors, and thank you for allowing me time to speak. My name is Kevin Leahy and I'm President of the Taber Food Bank, a position I've held for 3 years, and for 5 years prior to this I was a member of the Taber Food Bank Board of Directors. We are all affected by the current pandemic crisis, some much more than others. I want to relay to you how this crisis has changed our operations at the Taber Food Bank. In mid-March, when the stay-at-home order was given, we immediately changed our services by locking the doors to the public. We knew we had to limit our exposure for our staff members, volunteers, and clients. We implemented very rigorous sanitation standards and distancing measures. Many of our volunteers fall into the high-risk group, and so we are only utilizing a small number of people on a rotating schedule with a maximum of 3 volunteers per day. All of our clients must call in for their monthly hamper, and we set appointment times for them to pick up their hamper. The hampers are placed outside the food bank door, and the client can then pick up. For inclement weather, we will hand their hamper through the door. Appointment times are in 10-minute increments. We will deliver hampers under special circumstances. These measures limit the exposure for all involved. Now, pre-pandemic, we operated with 2 part-time managers at 20 hours per week, 1 part-time intake worker at 16 hours per week, and a myriad of volunteers putting in 570 hours per month. The public could drop off donations of food or money whenever our doors were open. We have now increased our managers up to 40 hours per week and our intake workers to 20 hours per week. Our volunteers have dropped to 275 hours per month. Our over-the-counter donations, which must be pre-arranged, are negligible right now, which means we are purchasing food from the grocery store the same as you and I. We receive a shipment of assorted dry food from Alberta Food Banks every 3 months. Our most recent shipment came on March 23rd. Because of these changes, we are estimating our next 3 months of combined costs to be over $43,000 for food and wages, double what it would normally be. One of the projects we will not miss out on, there is good news here, one of the projects we won't miss out on during this pandemic is the vegetable garden, operated by volunteers just west of Taber on Huckleberry Road. This provides us with an abundance of fresh produce through the late summer and early fall. Please feel free to donate your time if you have it, and you can find out the information if you follow our Facebook page. There are many fundraising initiatives which we will miss out on this summer. Opportunities such as Stuff a Bus in June, with the schools participating as well as First Student providing buses to stuff. and, of course, Cornfest, one of our largest fundraisers. The 50-50 draw raises $10,000 for us, plus we receive many other cash donations during Cornfest. There are numerous businesses in town that in the past have held small fundraising projects for us. Now, with many of these doors shuttered, there will be very little of these donations. Our usage at the Taber Food Bank has remained about the same for now. We give about 115 hampers per month. Clients can also phone in to find out what is available on the daily pick shelf. The pick shelf contains perishables that we receive daily from the grocery stores. Clients can get up to 2 bags per day. What do we foresee for the future? That's the $54,000 question here. No one really knows, but we predict our usage will be up by as much as 50% as people experience food insecurity. We at the Taber Food Bank wonder what the town of Taber can do to support us and our clients. Well, money is always graciously appreciated. However, we would also appreciate if the town can apply pressure to our provincial government. In the past, provincial government has never provided funding for food banks, not once. Yet they direct their clients to us. You have in front of you a package of information regarding the food bank. I thank you for your time and support. And if you have any questions, fire away.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Leahy, for your report. It's excellent. Thank you. Just a comment and maybe a question. I want to place on 3 items.
Yeah.
One's provincial help. I thought the provincial government announced a $50 million donation to the food bank. Let me just continue, please. And secondly, the Canadian government put aside $100 million for food banks throughout Canada. And third, there was a huge telethon or musical fundraiser last night in Canada that broke all the food banks' servers that it was so overwhelmingly supportive. Are you accessing some of that money or able to access some of that money, sir?
So, very good question, and I do have an answer. So, there are 2 programs that the provincial government put out, and we put in funding requests through 2 of them. The first one I requested $18,000, and it could not be used for food. Yeah, go figure. But that's their rules. We could not use that one for food. The second one was for food and for wages, and we applied for $30,000 in that one. Now, we know through Grant Hunter's office we've been approved for $15,000 in funding, but we don't know which stream it's coming from or when it's coming. But we've been approved for $15,000 sometime in the future. So, federally, yes, there was a big deal on this weekend for Canadian food banks and $100 million for Canadian food banks. We're under the umbrella of Food Banks Canada. We operate under that umbrella. Direct funding from them, I just want you to divide that out. I don't know the number of food banks in Canada, but our managers do, and they felt that we could get as much as $3,200 from that program. Yeah, that's not much. I don't know what Food Banks Canada would even do with that money. They have programs of their own that they have to do. We don't get any actual food from Food Banks Canada. We can apply for grants every 2 years from Food Banks Canada to buy food. So whether it would just go into that grant program, I'm not sure. I don't have enough information on that yet. I hope that answers your question.
Last one, Mr.
Yes, absolutely.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Lee, the last one, the fundraiser last night on television, you don't have no results. Apparently it was just huge, the contributions that were made. Any idea how much that was? Okay. I heard someone say $150 million, but I don't know.
Yeah, it could be. And again, that went to Food Banks Canada, not directly to individual food banks.
Councillor Becker, yes.
But just may finish off. $100 million federal money.
Yep.
If you go on a per capita basis, that's about almost $3 per capita in Canada.
Yep.
If you got a population of between Taber and the MD is $15,000, 15,000 people, that's about $45,000, no?
You would think. I don't know how that money will dribble down. It's federal money.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Councillor Strauss.
Worship, to Mr. Leahy, just kind of a question, and I don't know how you can answer this or not, but do you have the makeup of Food Bank Canada? I mean, are they volunteers? Are they paid executives? Well, you know, can you enlighten us a little bit, you know, because they're getting a lot of money.
I wish I could answer it truthfully, I only know that there's directors. They're probably wage earners. I don't know that, so I shouldn't say. I don't know that. I'm not familiar enough with Food Banks Canada, but we apply to them for funding. So you've seen our white van that's around town. That funding came from Food Banks Canada, directly from them. So it's been a while since they've given us anything too. But we operate under their rules, and if those rules are spelled out on that small sheet that's on the back of that sheet, it has the rules for people to come in and get a hamper. That's under their direction. So that's a good question, and I don't know the answer, Joe.
Mr. Leahy, I mean, when we hear of all this money going to food banks, we think, wow, our food bank's going to get some money out of this year. And now you just shed some light on there that, gee, people are donating $150 million. The government gave a whack of money out of our pockets and whatnot, but none dribbles down to where it is actually needed.
Well, and we don't know how long it takes to dribble down either. The check is in the mail, I guess is the saying. We knew 2 weeks ago that we were approved for $15,000 provincially. When do we see it? When does a check get in our hands? I don't know.
But at least you're getting something from the provincial government. But I'm talking about specifically about Food Bank Canada. And I just because it's kind of deceiving to find out they're getting all this money and where does it go?
We'd all like that answer. I donated money. The same thing. I texted the number and donated money to it. It's a good cause. Does it filter down to the local food banks? It bloody well better.
Not that I want to be brash, but wouldn't you have been better off to give it to your local food bank directly?
I do both. Both.
I'm sure you do, but you understand my
I understand totally where you're coming from.
Councillor Garner.
Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Leahy. Talk on the street is that some corporations have made some pretty sizable donations to the food bank in Taber. Can you elaborate on that, or without breaking confidentialities or anything?
No, that's fine. We have been in a program with Lamb Weston for 2 years now, and they wanted, of all things, a dairy program coming from a potato company. And the first year they gave us $15,000 US in that program, and that was a pretty nice check. Last year they gave us $20,000 US, and this year they said they're ending the program, but they gave us a check for it was either $10,000 or $15,000. So that we have in the bank already. There's probably others coming. We haven't got checks in hand yet for that. So
okay.
Yeah, the corporate community, hey, the business community in Taber is beyond reproach. They're fantastic, and we've always, I can't say enough about how good we've been treated by them, and the people of Taber as well. So don't get me wrong, I really appreciate what we get. We probably will get less from companies now. There will be less business. That's all there is to it. I hope that answers your question.
Mr. Garner.
Yeah, I to drill down on some specifics. I had heard that McCain had made like a $50,000 donation. Is there any correctness to that?
McCain's is making a donation to us. They haven't made a public announcement yet. We're waiting for their public announcement. So there is something coming, and it is big. That's what I can say publicly right now.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So,
I appreciate that.
Yes, money is coming down the pipes from other corporations.
Good to hear.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, just to clarify, again, thank you so much for your presentation. Very informative and very helpful. This fundraiser that was gone on last night, that's the gray area then, as I understand it, that nobody knows where that's going to go. Or if we're gonna get
and it came about, I don't even know who set it up. We don't know anything about it. There's been no information given to us.
So without
probably it funnels down, you guys. It probably does, but how much?
There's not a guarantee right now,
absolutely
or when.
Not.
That's
absolutely
key,
not.
Right? Yeah,
I'm not here crying poverty. I'm not here to cry poverty to you guys. This is awareness of what's going on, what could change. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 to 5, 6 months. Maybe it's longer. We could be crying poverty in 6 months. I don't want to do that.
Never.
It's an awareness for you guys.
Right, Councillor Chavez.
Just another question, kind of come to. Does the town help you out with utilities, taxes? Is there something more in that form that we could help you out with? Because I mean, I don't know your infrastructure. I mean, do you pay all your own utilities? And
We own the building, we own the premises, and taxes, I believe, are covered by provincial government, I think, yeah. And we had a discussion with you guys, I believe, about a year ago about utilities, and you guys cover your share of the utilities, so, and we thank you for that.
So is there more of the utilities that could be covered? I mean, are they all covered or?
Well, electrical, of course, no, that's covered by I don't even know what electrical company we're with. Honestly, I don't write the checks.
No, but are there things that we could help you with on a regular basis rather than just a straight donation?
Yeah, no, I understand where you're getting at. You guys are really good. Really. If we need an extra garbage bin, they bring an extra garbage bin to us. If we need them picked up on an extra day, they pick them up on an extra day. What more could the town do? And I'm not even sure. Honestly, if you're going to say, Kevin, what do you want from us today? I don't really know. I want you to be aware, and I want pressure placed on the provincial government to continue funding, not just for pandemic funding, because we service their clients as well.
And that's just a clarification question. Again, you mentioned that the provincial government has never come forth with any monies for the food bank whatsoever.
And I can attest that 3 years ago, we were invited by Food Banks Alberta, which is the Alberta head of food banks, and to meet with the sitting MLAs and have a breakfast meeting with them and pour out our woes and pump them for money, basically, is what we did. And we got nothing. We got promises, and I got lied to, and I'm pretty bitter about it. So, and that was 3 years ago, so you can do the math.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. All right. Any other questions arising? Councillor Bruin, do you have a question at all?
No, I don't, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Leahy, for that fine presentation.
All right. Thank you. And again, once again, thank you so much for your presentation. Very detailed and very helpful for us as a council. We will certainly have some more discussion on this, but thank you so much and all the best going forward.
Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. Have a great night.
Thanks,
See you, Kevin.
All right. Anybody want to start? Comment? Questions?
I'll start. You know, I think perhaps maybe one of the things that, I mean, you know, it doesn't sound like that, you know, he's requesting anything specific, but perhaps we could pen a letter to our MLA and our MP, you know, stating the case of our local food bank and that they really could use some lasting contribution from both governments, not just one-time type things. You know, I think that would probably go a long way to help the situation as far as donating money. I think at this point, like Mr. Leahy said, he doesn't even, not really asking for anything specific, but I think if we penned a letter to those two individuals, I think we could certainly help out.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
I agree with Joe on that. Writing a letter would be a good idea now.
All right, just here in the presentation, I guess they're not in dire straits. As I've said, there are some contributions even forthcoming that aren't secured just yet. But he quoted a $15,000 provincially. I don't know, we tossed some ideas around when this came up previously, and it's, I don't, to me, I think it's appropriate to help out in some financial regard. The letter is one thing, that's fine. We can certainly do that also. And that's definitely a help and put a bit of pressure on our provincial government as such. And on a go forward basis, as Councillor Stravos is indicating, for something more consistent and annual. But I think it is, again, more than appropriate to donate something to our own local food bank. You all saw the letter that came out here in the last 3-4 weeks. They didn't ask for numbers, money per se, but it certainly spelled out the concerns and the need and the increase in usage, and as Mr. Lay also indicated, it's only going to get more demanding in that regard, depending on how much longer our COVID situation goes on. So I would be more than in favor of supporting something financially with whatever council would be comfortable with and reasonable at this particular time frame. I look forward to any other comments or suggestions.
Mr. Mayor?
Ron.
I think at this time, like Kevin said, they're not looking for the money yet, but I think it's on our radar now, so maybe expect to have to donate in the future. But right now, I think the letter would be the appropriate way to go yet, but probably expect to have to give them money later.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Your
Councillor
Worship, I've penned a motion that I'll read out and just see what everybody thinks. That administration pen a letter to our MLA and MP to put something in place on a consistent yearly basis to support the food bank and have the mayor endorse such.
All right, just to clarify, the administration, has that got that all covered with that particular recommendation?
Yes, that's clear to us. Thank you, sir.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. Okay, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Councillor Bruin?
In favor.
Carried unanimously. Good, thank you. With that, I just ask for a motion to move into closed session then, and Councillor Becker, thank you. Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you.
In favor.
And Councillor Bruin, is he all right to be on this line to come?
No, we're going to hang this line
Still got
up.
to go back. Okay.
And then, yes, there's another line